I used to live in a quiet county in Maryland. A small house, a good job, and above all, my son, Ethan. Ethan was a very different child. Quiet, sensitive, but extraordinarily intelligent. Where other kids made noise, he read books. Where everyone ran, he thought. At first, I didn't notice that he had started coming home from school sad. Then one day there was a silence in his eyes, one that said a lot. I asked, "What happened, Ethan?" He quietly said, "Dad, they call me a nerd. They laugh at me." I thought maybe it happened once or twice, but within a few days everything became clear. Ethan was often bullied at school, sometimes for his glasses, sometimes for the way he spoke, and sometimes just because he was different. My heart sank. The next day I checked the school's rating, C-. Few teachers, little attention, and an environment not suitable for a sensitive child. At night I would open my laptop and search for other schools. Montgomery County schools, their students were winning competitions all over the world, and the rating was A+. But to live there, I had to change everything. A new house, a new place, a new beginning. My wife said, "We're happy here. Why change everything?" I smiled and said, "Yes, we're happy. But Ethan isn't." I knew that if I didn't take a step now, his future would be ruined. A few weeks later, I sold my old house. There was a heaviness in my heart, but hope on Ethan's face. After talking to a few property agents, I rented a house, and the landlord seemed like a really good man. On the first day in our new home, when I saw Ethan walking into his new school, a bag on his shoulder, but dreams far heavier than that, I stood there for a long time and prayed, "My son, now don't just study, win." The first few days went great. The house was new, the neighborhood was nice, and the air felt peaceful. But soon, strange things began to happen. At night, a tap-tap sound came from the roof, as if someone was hammering. At first, we thought it was the wind, but the sounds began coming more often at different times of night. Then, from the edge of the lawn, came the sound of footsteps. Shoop, 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 like someone walking on grass. I went outside, but there was nothing. Just the wind blowing, but an unknown fear settled inside me. My wife and child also started getting scared at night. Every little sound made us jump. I set up cameras. Nothing showed up, just the hammering sound. My wife became very frightened. She already believed in paranormal activities. She said, "This can't be human. There's something here." I kept trying to comfort her, but to be honest, doubts had started rising in my own heart too. The atmosphere in the house was becoming darker and eerier every day. The three of us began sleeping in the same room. I couldn't understand what was really happening. I was worried and didn't know what to do next. Then I remembered my friend, a detective in the police. I called him and told him everything. He said, "Tonight I'll stay with you and find out where the sound really comes from." Around 12:30 a.m. that sound came again. Tap, tap, tap. We both grabbed flashlights and ran upstairs to the roof. But as soon as we got there, silence. Suddenly, everything stopped, as if someone had turned it off. My friend paused and said quietly, "This isn't a coincidence. Something's going on." He noted the time. After that night, he began visiting often. Whenever the sound came, he noted the time and location. It was mostly from the storage room on the roof. Gradually, the color of his face began to change too. He started to believe this wasn't something ordinary. One night, my friend decided, tonight we'll sleep in the storage room upstairs. If the sound comes from there, we'll find out the truth tonight. We set up our bedding upstairs. Around 1 a.m. we were talking when suddenly, the same sound echoed again. Tap, tap, tap. My friend immediately went quiet and whispered, "The sound is coming from this direction." He began tracing the direction of the sound, then pointed his finger. "It's coming from under the wooden base." We both tiptoed to that spot. He picked up a hammer and struck the wooden plank hard. After a few hits, the plank broke, and underneath it was a small hollow space. We were stunned. Inside that hollow space was a small MP3 player. My friend picked it up. It was old and covered in dust. We came downstairs, cleaned it, and tried to play it. As soon as it started, we heard that same sound. Tap, tap, tap. We looked at each other. It was exactly the same sound we had been hearing every night. The MP3 player had these sounds scheduled by date and time, and it had long-lasting batteries installed. And the play duration of those sounds was about 10 to 15 seconds, which is why, whenever we went upstairs, the sound stopped immediately. But this was only the beginning. Because in the recording behind that sound, there weren't just tap-tap noises. There were faint words, too, as if someone was whispering something softly. When we found that first MP3 player, our suspicion grew stronger. My friend said, "If one is hidden here, there might be more elsewhere." The next day, we inspected the whole house. We searched the roof, the lawn, and around the outer walls. Then, when we looked under the pillars outside on the right and left sides, we found 2 more MP3 players. One of them had the sound of footsteps recorded. Shoop, 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 exactly like the ones we heard at night. Now we were sure someone was behind all this. Someone had planned it intentionally. But who was it? And why? The mystery was still beyond our reach. All we knew was, whatever was happening wasn't natural. It was carefully planned. My friend took a deep breath and said, "This is just the beginning. Whoever did this is somewhere nearby." When we gathered all the MP3 players, one thing was clear. This couldn't be the work of an ordinary person. We thought maybe there would be a company or serial number on them, something to trace the source. But no. The names, numbers, even the stickers had been erased, as if someone deliberately wanted to hide their identity. One interesting thing about the MP3 player, it has an echo mode that makes every voice sound distant and haunting. We listened to all the recordings, footsteps, tapping sounds, and in some, faint chuckles, like someone laughing softly. What was terrifying wasn't that the sounds existed, but that someone had recorded them, and for a long time. When no evidence turned up, we called the landlord again. This time I told him everything in detail. He listened silently, then suddenly shouted in anger, "Oh, that damn Morgan! It must be his doing!" My friend and I were shocked. I asked, "Who's Morgan?" He sighed deeply, regret on his face. Then he said, "Morgan was the boy who used to live here before you. The same family that left this house. He was their son." We went quiet. The landlord continued. He took a deep breath and spoke slowly. "Actually, there used to be a tenant here, a good family. But after some time, things started changing. I wanted to increase the rent, but they didn't agree. I tolerated them for months, then finally told them to vacate the house. When they were leaving, their faces were filled with anger and sorrow. They even stopped talking to me. On the day they left, when I came to collect the keys, the head of the family said just one sentence: "No one will live peacefully in this house again. Whoever stays here won't stay in peace." I laughed it off then. But a few days later, their son Morgan came back to me. He said, "Uncle, we want to move back into the same house, if you let us have it for the old rent." I refused. I said clearly, "Son, that's not possible. The rent has increased." He stood there quietly, then walked away without saying another word. Morgan was very interested in electronics. He often made things using old devices, wires, and sensors. Maybe it was with those gadgets that he set all this up. And after that day, everything that started happening in this house, you've seen it yourself. My friend and I went to meet Morgan immediately. We found him and said, "We know you're behind this. You set up these MP3 players to scare us." But Morgan denied it. He laughed and said, "You guys, that's not my voice at all. The voices in the recordings were pre-recorded." One sentence kept repeating, "I will come back." But strangely, that voice didn't sound like Morgan's voice at all. We had no proof, so we couldn't take any action. But before leaving, my friend warned him, "If you ever do this again, the outcome won't be good." After that, the house never felt the same again. The sound stopped, but sometimes it still feels like they might start again someday.